Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Small Business Stories. I am your host, Dr. LL, Loralyn Mears here, bringing you every week fascinating folks who can talk to you about different aspects of their business. And today we've got a really interesting story, as we do every week. We've got Bryan Clayton, who's the founder of GreenPal, but we're going to talk about his arc from being an operator in a blue collar industry, moving into a tech startup space and really expanding that through an incredible accumulation of technology from AI to just people power and doing all kinds of things. So, Bryan, welcome to the show.
Laurelyn, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Well, let's get right into it. So, what we've got here, first of all, is a story about lawn care. Now, as I'm sitting up here in New Jersey with, like I said, a balmy temperature of 1 degree this morning, right when I got up, and you're down there, woohoo, in Memphis, it's a little warmer, a little more grass visible. We just see like white stuff everywhere. Talk to us about how it became clear to you that you wanted to exit out of your original business, because you've been an entrepreneur your whole life, serial entrepreneur, that how you wanted to exit out of the operating a lawn care business and move into GreenPal. Talk to us a little bit about those steps first so people can get your story.
Yeah, it was never like the long-term plan. Today I am founder and CEO of GreenPal. It's the app that works like Uber for lawn care. But before that, I ran a landscaping business. And so I was kind of solving my own problem when I started GreenPal because being a landscape business operator, I saw every day how difficult it was for a small business owner in the landscaping industry to run their business, and then how difficult it was for homeowners to find them and hire them in a seamless way. And so I kind of witnessed the inefficiencies of the industry, and so I was kind of solving my own problem. But I did not start the landscaping business to ultimately be a tech entrepreneur. It kind of just unfolded that way. I started mowing grass in high school as a way to make extra cash, and then went to business school and spent mowed yards during the day and went to school at night and graduated business school, and I thought, what am I going to do now? And I didn't really want to be a lawn guy my whole life, but I thought, okay, maybe I can make a business plan and turn this into something. And so I did that, and over about a 15-year period of time, built that into a real company. It ended up being one of the larger landscaping businesses in the state of Tennessee where I live, ultimately getting around $10 million a year in sales. And then it was acquired by a national company. And so that kind of happened unexpectedly. But it was a good thing, because then that created the space for me to start my next business. And I didn't really know what that was going to be, but I thought, it'd be fun to be a tech entrepreneur. Why can't I do what I saw in the movie The Social Network? Why can't I be like one of those guys? And so I thought, okay, well, somebody's going to build an app that works like Uber but for lawn mowing. Why can't that be me? And it was kind of like naivete as an asset. I didn't really know what I didn't know, but I just got in the trenches and started working on what the first version of the website should look like, and paid some developers to build it, and that was a total failure. And then I had to teach myself how to write software, and my co-founder did too. And so we built the whole thing over again. And fast forward now 10 years later, GreenPal is a nationwide network of lawn mowing services that you can hire from your smartphone. Around 300,000 people use it every week for lawn mowing.
Okay, there's like 20 things I want to get into there. So, okay, we're going to break it down, see if I can remember to go through them. All right. Number one, I have a lot of respect for folks that are doing the lawn care and starting there. In college, I also cut grass. We didn't have riding mowers, and I cut 3 to 5 miles a day of that hard to cut areas, the uphills and
Nice.
downhills. And it's like, oh my
Nice.
God, the shower at the end of the day was like the best thing
Yes.
ever.
Nothing like that shower.
Right? Oh my God. So first there, that. Second, you've got 10 years with GreenPal, which in itself is phenomenal. So congratulations on that milestone. Never mind the wonderful success metrics that you just quoted. So that's huge. Let's not pass over that too quickly. And third, one of the areas I want to get back to is you exited your original business, your lawn care. Like I said, you got it to the place where you were one of the largest in Tennessee. Talk to us because a lot of people dream of exit, right? That's the whole reason why they start the business, exit, create generational wealth, all this stuff. No one wants to stay in it forever because we all know entrepreneurship is not easy. And so,
Yes.
right? Talk to us about that exit experience. What surprised you? What you weren't prepared for? What went down the way that you thought, like the social network or any of these other things that we've been exposed to through television and media? Just talk to us about the experience.
Yeah, it was nothing like I thought it would be in every aspect. So a couple of things. I started that business as like a lifestyle business, and as a something that I was going to run for the rest of my life. And I never really had any desire to exit that company or sell it one day. And that is the wrong way to go about starting a business that you intend to sell, because you should really be building it to sell. And there's actually a really good book called Built to Sell that is about all of this, where you intentionally begin with the end in mind and you work backwards from there, and you do all the things you need to do to build the company in such a way that it could be acquired. That is not the way I had built my landscaping company. And so when it came time to pursue an acquisition, there were all of these things I had to do on the goal line to get it ready to be acquired. And that took like a year and a half, almost 2 years. I had to take the business down to the studs almost and rebuild it in such a way that it could be bolted on into a bigger organization. And in a weird way, going through all of that and doing all of that kind of almost made me not want to sell it anymore, because it was like a whole new like unlock of potential in the business. But so you build the business to sell, and I think a trap a lot of founders fall into is they think, okay, well, I want to sell my business. I'm working so hard and I'm burnt out and the profit margins aren't as good as I want them to be, and the customers are always upset, and my employees are always upset, and everybody's always pissed off at me, and I just want to offload this thing. I'm tired of it. That is not the mentality to have to begin to try to sell your business, because nobody is going to buy your basket of problems, and they're going to smell that coming a mile away. And so you're not going to have a successful outcome if that is kind of the reality of your world in running your business. You should be in love with the business, and the business should be operating smoothly without you, and it should be profitable, and you should have happy customers and happy employees, because only then, when you have all of those things, will somebody purchase the company. So it's like, if you want to sell the company and you want to build a company that could be bought, you kind of have to have all of these things in place, and you have to work really hard to make all of that a reality, to be in a position where it could be acquired. Otherwise, it's kind of like a path to nowhere. You will not have a positive outcome. So those are some things that I learned selling my company, and I'm glad I got it done. I'm glad I did it. It was a win-win for everybody. The still in business today, and still many of the same people that work for me work there, and it set me up to where I didn't have to worry about a paycheck anymore, and I could focus on building GreenPal the right way and not have to worry about pulling money out of it. That was a blessing, but it was a lot of intentional hard work for a period of time.
I'm so glad that you shared that because I don't think people have a full realization of what's involved. Even just getting your books clean and
Yeah,
ready
totally.
so that they are audit ready. I mean, most people are focused on, okay, of course, I want to do my good accounting and all of the rest of that. No, financial nonsense or anything, because we all know what happens if you play that game.
Yeah.
And but the level of scrutiny that goes into it, I don't think a lot of, at least clients and stuff that I've known, have been prepared for that. What I want to ask, though, without getting into kind of gender wars, is the emotions behind it. Because a lot of people say that female founders have a lot of difficulty separating from their business because they're more emotionally invested in it. They really just can't see themselves in anything else because their identity is so wrapped up in it. And people, again, general, right? There's a bell curve for everything, say that men are already thinking about their next business. So they're looking to just detach from it quickly so that they can take the money and do what they want to do. Where are you on that arc?
Well, if all of that is true, then I have a lot of feminine tendencies because I was how you characterized it at the outset. I did have a lot of emotional uh, baggage, if you will, and a lot of emotional interconnected. I was connected to the business in terms of my personality. My business was me, and I was my business. And even now with GreenPal, um, I try not to take negative feedback personally on the business, but if you tell me my business sucks, I take that as I suck, and I need to
Mm.
fix whatever that is. And so that's how it was selling my company in terms of fixing everything that was wrong about it, getting the books clean. Like these were personal things that I screwed up, and I had to get them right. And then when I sold the business and I was no longer like the chief of this thing, and that there was 150 employees that worked there that all looked up to me in some shape or form, and it had been working with me for 15 years. They were like family. Well, now all of that no longer is yours, and you're no longer the chief, and there's no longer a reason like to get out of bed at 6 a.m. and really try to crush it every day. And there's no longer a reason to read that book on leadership or listen to that podcast on customer service or whatever. You no longer have this thing pushing you forward as a human being. And for me, that I took that very personally, and it took a long time to get over that. It took about 2 years to get over that, and there was a state of sadness that I went through after I sold the business, particularly before I started GreenPal. I didn't have a new project, so I was kind of like in this point of limbo, and I felt like a ship without a rudder. And so I guess like those are good problems to have because it means you kind of got the acquisition done, which is not common. And but nobody prepares you for any of that. Nobody prepares you for the emotional aspect of it. So it was very much an emotional journey for me going through the acquisition and then post acquisition, that I guess I was lucky to experience because that meant I got the deal done. But nobody tells you what that's going to be like.
And that's why we have this show. Exactly that. Because my guests, very fortunate for me as a host and for our audience, people open up. We've had several folks who, as guests, have broken down in tears with various things and all that. And I'm not that hard-hitting podcast host. Yes, I want to bring you to your knees and take you. No, it's just it comes through because I don't think it's ego for everybody. I think even in what you're describing, Bryan, and for a lot of folks, it's you are everything and then you cease to be relevant within a very
Exactly.
short period of time. And that's a mind frig, right? That
Yeah.
you've really got to get through.
Yeah. Well, and if you grow a business, even if you grow a business to five people, you're throwing your heart and soul into that business, and it's your life force going into it to breathe it into existence, and that requires a lot of I guess emotional commitment. And then like to your point, one day that's gone, that's no longer there. And it's a weird thing. And for me, the way I dealt with it was I started another business. I did not want to start another business. That was not in the plan. I really just kind of wanted to be an investor and drink mai tais on the beach. What I found out is that's fun for about a month, and then life gets existential really quickly. And so for me, I had to get back in the game, and I'm glad I did. Looking back.
All right, so now let's shift to GreenPal. So thank you for taking our audience and me on that journey because I think it's really important to understand there's humans behind all of this and decisions. It's just not everything is the dollar sign. And I think many people that I've spoken to and heard about get focused on the dollar sign is what attracts them into entrepreneurship. And that usually doesn't end out the way that they're looking to, right? Because there's all these other aspects of it. All right. So shifting to GreenPal now, I want to talk about something that I think is a convergence of where you are with GreenPal and where I am, even in my own journey in my business. It's all about what we're signaling out there to the internet, especially now as we're shifting from SEO, right, search engine optimization, to AI, right, this GEO that is searching us and deciding if we are worthy of being ranked based on an accumulation of factors and how consistently we show up and say we are an authority in X. So it's trust signaling. Like I wore green today, just, because I thought, oh yeah, yeah, okay, we're talking about grass and things, so let's do green. So trust signals. How did you get to that place where GreenPal could be trusted, that you are making recommendations to homeowners who have no clue where to go or what to do, that, yeah, yeah, here's, the Loralyn lawn cutting company, and do I trust her? Do I do it? Is this a good price? Am I being gouged? I don't know. How did you overcome that?
Yeah, it was one that was because we do hundreds of thousands of transactions every week now, and but we started off with 100, and started off with dozens of transactions, and so in those days it was very much spreadsheets, phone calls, text messages, uh, hand-to-hand combat, making sure that the trains ran on time. And now it's all the measurement of data and the measurement of signals that are happening on our platform, and the transactions that are happening on our platform, and understanding what goes into a successful outcome, and how to prevent a negative outcome. And now with AI, we're able to do these things a lot quicker, a lot tighter, a lot more consistent. And as it turns out, between having grass that's 4 feet tall or 2 feet tall, and getting somebody to come out and mow it, there's about a million things that can go wrong. And it's our platform's job to make that run smoothly, and then study the millions of transactions that have happened on the platform, and kind of figure out, okay, well, who are the service providers nearby you that will show up on Thursday and will do a good job and will honor their price, and then we'll be there the following week. And then we can promote those service providers and demote the ones that aren't good. And it's that kind of flywheel, where we understand this is what goes into a successful outcome, and this is what actually causes a negative outcome, and let's prevent the negative outcomes and promote the successful ones. And now with data and AI, and capturing all of this information inside of our platform, we're able to do that, and create an experience that consumers can't get unless they use GreenPal. If you want to do it the old way of calling around and leaving voicemails, and leaving a check under the mat, or handing somebody cash, we have to create an experience 10 times better than that. And the way we get there is by measuring all of the transactions that have occurred, and understanding what goes into a positive outcome, and what causes a negative outcome, and preventing those.
Do you think you would have been able to even queue up the AI to do the ranking when you talk about what that experience, that expectation is, without having first owned and operated a lawn care business?
It's a really good question. So for me, starting GreenPal, I was kind of solving my own problem. I saw how difficult it was to run a lawn mowing business, and then I saw how difficult it was for consumers to find a good lawn mowing service, because I saw both sides of the transaction for a decade. And so I was solving my own problem, and so that enabled us to prevent a lot of wasted time building the wrong thing. We were kind of building the right thing from day one, and that got us to a point where then we had a few thousand users, and then we could start looking at the data. So my in the trenches experience building it kind of got us in the game and got us on first base, where we could build something that worked, and then we, after we got the liquidity and we got the few hundred customers and then the few thousand customers, we could then leverage those transactions to understand what went into positive outcomes. And so it was kind of like a bowling pin strategy almost. Like the 10, 15 years in the landscaping business is really kind of table stakes that got me into the game. If I didn't have that, it would have been like me trying to innovate in, I don't know, the restaurant business. I never ran a restaurant. I can't even cook myself. And I wouldn't have been able to build a successful platform in the restaurant business. So it was kind of like that's what got us on first base.
Do you think that entrepreneurs are most successful by having failed a couple of times first, or even had success in their first business until they can really be enabled to make a huge impact with their next business? Like, do you think this is the order of things for entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I think it is fine to fail and fail fast, and it's fine to make mistakes, but it's not okay to repeat those mistakes. So what you want to do is you want to strike out, and then you want to learn what happened, and then get closer to success. And so ideally, everybody has failed business ventures, the ideas that just never went anywhere, and that's okay. But really, you want to be failing in the existing business over and over and over again, and learning from what's not working, getting closer to creating an experience for your customer that they can't get anywhere else. And so ideally, you're going through these cycles in one continuous path in one project. And yeah, sure, you've got some strikeouts, that occurred before this one, but you don't want to just like always be starting businesses that fail, because you can waste a decade doing that. And so it's like a balance of the two. Now every seemingly overnight success that you see uh, was always the product of 5 years or 10 years or 20 years of that founder, that entrepreneur who did have two or three failed ventures before they started this one that worked. But it just so happened that those were kind of like in adjacent industries or the same industry, and they learned a lot from those failed ventures, and then they applied that to the one that did work. So it's not like a overnight thing. It was actually the accumulation of like all of the learnings from the two or three things that didn't work. So yeah, I think that's totally normal, and that's what makes our country great, is that you can fail and start again. If you fail in most any other country in the world, that's it. You're a failure. You're a loser, and you are not gonna start again, especially if you lost somebody's capital. In America, we celebrate that, and so that's a great thing. Use it to your advantage. Figure out what you learned, and don't repeat those same mistakes, and get closer to success on the next thing.
Oh, and I think just to tailgate on your last point, case in point, Adam Newman, right? Charismatic founder of WeWork, blew
Blew
the
it up.
IPO like in spectacular, epic
Yep.
fashion, right?
Yep.
Blew it.
Yep.
What was it? 4 or 5 months later, Sequoia Capital, one of the best investing companies in the world, put in another, I don't know, I'm not going to get the number right, couple
It goes
hundred
about
million.
$500 million.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy,
it's
isn't it? Only in
right.
America. That's what makes this country great, is you can fail and start again. And that does not happen anywhere else. That's a privilege we have.
And it's also where I'm hearing consistently with all guests that this overnight success is nonsense, right? It takes
Nonsense.
a lot of work. And I'm seeing it in a lot of young entrepreneurs that I'm mentoring, and they're coming into it saying, well, yeah, I'm just looking to provide, I don't know, a little oversight and get passive income. I'm like, you are a long way from passive income.
It does not work that way, and unfortunately, there's a lot of misinformation being dispelled in quick 5 second, 6 second reels and TikTok clips about that sort of thing. It does not work that way, and passive income ain't even passive. There's almost no such thing as passive income, and so, yeah, no, it does not work that way, folks. You heard it here first, I guess.
And that's just it. There is no free lunch, right? There is a
Yeah,
cost to
Yeah.
everything.
If,
All
if
right.
if you do figure it out, let me know.
I'll keep that in mind. So, as we're working towards the end of our show here, a couple of other questions. So, I've got. So, it seems that also because you were successful in your original venture and you had that foundational and financial backing to be able to move into GreenPal in the way that you wanted. Despite all of that, it seems just from the outside, you resisted that Silicon Valley hustle culture, grow fast at all costs, even though you said the social network was one of your inspirations to look at all of this. How did you manage all of that, that urge and that need to feel like put more gas on, right? Hit the gas pedal harder and pull back and go, wait, wait, wait. I need to do this because the pressure and the signals aren't right and I'm trying to get it. Talk to us a little bit about that thought process.
Yeah, it's a really good question. There's a couple things happening there. A lot of times when you see the tech companies move really super fast and almost like drive off the cliff and not leave any skid marks, it's because they raise money and the investors that invested in that company expect rocket ship growth, and so they're trying to deliver on what expectations are, and a lot of times they make decisions that investors want, not necessarily decisions that customers want. And so for us, we started off on that path, the traditional Silicon Valley path of you raise an angel fund, a round of funding, and then a series A, B, and C. And I went around trying to hustle up angel investor checks for about 6 months, and I'm just taking these meetings trying to get a $50,000 check or $100,000 check, and I just thought, I am wasting my time doing this. I need to build something that just makes 50 grand a day, or 50 grand a month at least, and not have to waste time taking all these meetings. And if I just sit down and build that, I'll be much further along. And that's just what we did. So we were able to sidestep a lot of that by not raising any money and self-funding the business and saying, okay, we need to go get 100 customers, and then we need to turn that into 1,000, and then we just need to make a little bit of money and then put that money back to work. And so that helped us stay really focused on building something that customers wanted, because we needed them to keep coming back. We needed them to spend money on the platform because we needed that money to reinvest it in features that they wanted. So it's kind of this, it sounds simple, but it was very much like a self-correcting flywheel where we would get customers, we would do everything it would take to make them happy. They would tell us all of the things that sucked about the platform. We would fix those things, and then we would rinse and repeat, and this triage around the top three things that mattered and not worry about anything else. And we kept doing that over and over again until like 3 or 4 years later, we had something that 100 people would use and 99 would be happy with it. Whereas when we started, it was like 100 people would use, or no, not even 100. 10 people would use it and 9 would be pissed off. And so I knew there was no reason to scale that. And so we needed to make that, we needed to invert that number, and before we tried to scale it. And so it was very much like getting customers, holding on to them and listening to them, doing our own customer support, even meeting them at Starbucks or their kitchen table, watching them use the product, using those learnings to make the product better, and just doing that over and over again for a long period of time.
Bryan, you've had a lot of terrific insights here. Where can people find you to learn more, or where can they get access to GreenPal to figure out who should do their lawn? Or maybe some business owners are listening here that they provide lawn care services and they should be on your platform. How can they
Yeah,
find you?
yeah. Anybody that's in the lawn mowing business or that needs a grass cutting service, just go to the App Store or Play Store. You can download GreenPal or just go to greenpal.com. Just click the big orange button. You'll start getting free quotes in less than a minute.
Wow, you make that easy. All right. Signature question here is how we wrap up every show. If we got to look into your closet down there in Nashville and there was a pair of footwear or a clothing or accessory piece that personified who you, Bryan Clayton, are and represent your philosophy, your ideology, represent you, what are we looking at?
Oh, that's a really good question. Because I have kind of a little trick that I play on myself where I will go and I will make a commitment to do something, and then I do something small that makes me do that bigger thing. So what I mean by that is, uh, I wanted to climb Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa, and so to get me closer to that goal, I went out and bought the most expensive pair of hiking boots I could buy. And so the purchase of the hiking boots was easy. Uh, but that was a little forcing function to get me closer to the goal of climbing that mountain. And so I figured if I bought the best hiking boots I could buy, that would be one step closer towards doing the training and booking the trip and all of these things. And so that's something that I think about, that I do in my personal life and in my business life. I do this in business all the time. I hire really expensive consultants that I have to meet with on a weekly basis, that keep me in check. And so I'm always making like really expensive decisions quickly that then force like good behavior down the road. So yeah, those hiking boots would be something that I would pull out that exemplified that.
There you go. And as someone who's climbed Mount Whitney, the Rockies, Colorado, the Bugaboos, like all through the Swiss Alps, like I get it. I've
Nice.
I've always had my sights on something bigger, but after watching Into Thin Air and some of those shows, no, no.
I'm good.
Yeah, I had a hell of an experience in Mount Whitney. I thought
I
I was really
bet.
going to die. It was beyond, beyond, beyond. Yeah. So enough of that stuff. So with that, Bryan Clayton, co-founder of GreenPal and CEO of GreenPal, really appreciate you being on the show today and sharing your insights about the entrepreneurship journey. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on, Loralyn. I appreciate it.